The NBA, one of the biggest and most followed sports leagues in the world, holds its annual draft day every year. For young rookies, it's their gateway to the big stage. Let's dive into what really takes place at NBA draft and the conspiracies it often surrounds with. A path that launches some into stardom, their faces immortalized on magazine covers. For many others, it's the start of a quiet fade into obscurity. Names you may never hear again after draft night. Basketball Association is the governing body behind the league. A key part of its job is to ensure the league stays fair and competitive. As a league owner, the last thing you'd want is a championship dominated by just one or two powerhouse teams. That's why the league is built on a framework that encourages multiple teams to contend for the top, creating excitement and unpredictability. More competitive teams mean more players, more games, more fanfare, and ultimately, more revenue. Big, big, big. Strategy for league owners to draft new players can just be that the teams who finished at last spots in previous season are the ones to get first access to the new pool of talent. And in practice, that's exactly the guiding principle behind how the draft is structured. Before 1985, the NBA draft followed a simple rule. The team with the worst record in the previous season earned the first pick. But this system had a major flaw. It incentivized teams to intentionally lose games, especially late in the season. Securing the bottom spot meant first dibs on the top prospects. It became a race to the bottom, a strategy that felt at best unsportsmanlike and at worst unethical and illegal. To fix this, the NBA introduced the draft lottery in 1985, a system, as the name suggests, based on chance. A large, transparent drum was filled with envelopes, one for each team that missed the playoffs the previous season. The envelope was drawn, the team with its name on envelope. The team gets to pick player of their choice, or the first pick. The process was repeated for second and third pick. It was simple, maybe way too simple that it opened the door to controversy. One of the most talked about conspiracies in NBA history is the 1985 draft, which fans believe was rigged to make sure the New York Knicks land Patrick Ewing. Here's a clip of then NBA Commissioner David Stern selecting the Knicks envelope. Fans believe the draw was fixed, claiming the envelope with the Knicks name was deliberately bent at the corner so Stern would know exactly which one to grab. To avoid such controversies, the NBA later introduced a more advanced draft system, one that's more elaborate and statistically grounded than a draw of a lottery. 14 ping-pong balls, numbered 1 through 14, are placed in a lottery machine and mixed for 20 seconds. One ball is drawn, then the remaining balls are mixed again for 10 seconds before the second draw. This process is repeated until 4 balls have been drawn. The combination of these 4 numbers determines which team gets the number 1 pick, and same process repeated for second, third, and fourth picks. However, not all teams have the same number of possible winning combinations. Teams that finished near the bottom of the standings in list of teams those that didn't make the playoffs are given significantly more combinations than those that finished higher. This uneven distribution helps preserve the draft's core principle, that the teams who struggled most last season should have the best shot at rebuilding through top draft picks. It's important to note that this lottery system only applies to the first 4 picks. After that, the remaining teams are placed in order based solely on their performance last season. The better a team did, the later they get to pick. Players selected with the top picks are usually the most highly sought-after talents, which is why they're often called lottery players. But the draft isn't the only way players end up on teams, and it's not always a perfect match. Teams can trade draft picks, or players during or after the draft, to better fit their roster needs. And while it's not common, it's also not unheard of for a player to refuse to join a franchise they don't want to be part of. Also, just because a player is drafted doesn't mean you'll see them on the court right away. Some need time, whether to finish overseas contracts, recover from injury, or simply develop further before they're ready to play.